When you look to search for the right tool, you have to look at the 3 Ps. The purpose, what do you want to get out of using this tool? The process, what are the steps using the tool? And people. Who are the people that are going to be using this tool?
Welcome to Solo to CEO. We're sitting here with Irit, right? Irit Levi. Irit, tell me a little bit about what you do.
First of all, thanks for having me. I help small businesses, small, medium businesses, streamline their processes, understand where they are, what's been doing right, what they're doing wrong, and then how we can improve them, automate, delegate, so that they can scale to a bigger size.
Awesome. What kind of companies do you primarily work with?
Coaches, creatives, consultants, small business. I've worked with so many industries. I just keep thinking about that today. I've worked with healthcare and real estate and recruitment. So many.
So it's primarily solopreneurs to small to medium sized businesses.
So solopreneurs was when I was starting, but now more so I work with people that have they're small companies. So like 10 employees, maybe 5 employees. I've worked with companies that have 30 employees, which is a lot bigger, but not a big company. It really depends on what stage they're at. It depends on where they are in their journey. Any company that's looking to go from where they are now to bigger than they are now.
Awesome. So let's talk about where these companies are holding right before they hire you. What are they struggling with?
Things are falling between the cracks. So either prospects aren't getting follow-up emails when they should be, or outreach is falling by the wayside, or clients are not getting updates when they need to get them, or maybe projects are falling between the cracks because there's so much going on and it's not clear who's doing what, or maybe everything is falling on one person but other people aren't doing enough, or maybe they're looking to hire. They know that they need more staff, but they're not sure what exactly they would give more staff to do. And then wait a minute, maybe we can automate part of it and delegate to a tool. So they're really struggling with what happens when you get so much work and your back is against the wall.
So is it mostly with client acquisition that you're helping them out, or more the fulfillment side of things?
Everything.
Or just everything?
It's client acquisition, the whole sales pipeline. It's project management, everything that happens from the minute you onboard a client until you offboard them and after. And then there's also content and data management. A lot of companies have so much data about their clients or projects or whatever it is, and they don't know how to handle it. And then they're looking for files all day. This could also be for content management for social, right? So it really, there's no one right thing. I also help with podcasts, but that's, different discussion for a different day.
We'll speak after, right? So when you onboard a client, when you onboard one of your clients, what's typically the first thing that you ask?
The first thing, well, it depends on what they've hired me for. So when I've been hired, I already know what we're going to be working on. Often they'll come to me and they go, okay, everything's a mess. We don't have a CRM. We don't know how to handle our leads. We don't know how to handle our clients. Everything, it's just, there's so much, because a lot of these companies grow from nothing. They start as a one-man show or two-man show, and all of a sudden they've exploded because they're so good at what they do. But they don't want the quality of their service to go down. And so what we'll do in that first meeting is we'll sit for an hour or 2 hours, and they'll walk me through the process that we're going to be working on. And when I say walk me through, it's not 1, 2, 3. They'll say 1, 2, 3, and I'll go, okay, tell me more about 1, and tell me more, and tell me more. And we'll spend 15 minutes just on step 1.
And then you'll build up number 1 and kind of chop it down into micro incremental steps, and then work through each part of the process.
Exactly.
And I don't think you're going to like this next question because it's one of those ambiguous questions. Whereas anyone else, if I'd ask it, they'd have just a quick answer to this. You're curious to what the question is now, aren't you? What's your main tool of choice?
Oh, that's not a fair question. That's not a fair question. Just because I like the tool doesn't mean it's going to be right for you. So you have to match the tool to the process and the person. When you look to search for the right tool, you have to look at the 3 Ps. The purpose, what do you want to get out of using this tool? The process, what are the steps using the tool? And people. Who are the people that are going to be using this tool? Once you know the 3 Ps, then we can choose a tool.
Person, process, people. Sorry,
Yeah.
purpose, process, people.
I have three favorites. So Airtable for my content management, small project management, not complex project management, and overall everything. Zapier for integrations, and there's a third, but it changes depending on the day. But basically, I can't do anything without my Google Workspace, my Google Calendar, my Gmail. Like, I live in my Google Calendar.
So what are some common, let's dive into these businesses that you're working with or waiting for them to contact you to work with. What are some common misconceptions that they have about automation or about hiring an automation specialist?
So misconceptions, the misconception number one is automations can't be personalized. They can. Building an automation right, you can totally personalize it to a huge extent, and it will still save you a lot of time and headache and brain space.
Right.
Many people believe they can DIY it. You probably can, but that's like saying, oh, I speak English, I'll write my own copy. Okay, maybe it's not to that extent, but you can DIY your automations to a certain extent, but it will take you longer and cost you a lot of frustration and brain space. And you probably won't get it to the nuances that an expert knows.
I'll add to that. A while ago, I set up my own automations, and things were just self-automating. It had its own brain of its own. Everything was just going all over the place. And, because every time I was like, oh, that's cool. Every time I do that, it'll do that. Okay, great. And I just set that one up. But then there's the nuances that I didn't go into. So I had automations that were just literally running everywhere, like bus lines just going on the same path each time, and no customization. No, I mean, there was, but it wasn't nuanced. And I was like, okay, everything's just going everywhere, and now I'm paying more for more automations, like 10,000
that you don't
automations,
need.
like
that
just
you don't
adding
need.
on to that. And then the only automation at that point I needed was something that was automatically going to delete all of my automations.
So a good
right
example of that, and everybody uses this, is let's say people have a scheduling tool. I'll say Calendly, not my favorite tool, far from my favorite tool, but somehow became seemingly industry standard, whatever. If you have an automation that runs every time somebody books a meeting, every single kind of meeting is going to run on the same automations. If you don't add a filter, only for specific types of meetings. So if you have hundreds of types of meetings that people are booking, or tens of types of meetings, and you only want this to run for one type of meeting, it's going to run for all of them unless you filter it out.
And in order to filter out, you have to use a tool like Zapier or Make.
Right. So I'm making the distinction between the native automations that you have in Calendly. But if you're pushing it to Zapier or Make, then just add a filter step where you say only continue if the meeting type is X.
And how long does the process usually take?
That's not
I know
fair. That's not fair.
It varies based on the business, but like what's our range? I'm here to ask unfair questions, and you got to give the unfair answers.
The answer is it depends. Like with any good automation specialist will tell you, or process strategist will tell you, it depends. It really depends on what you're trying to accomplish and where you are when you start. The better your process definition and strategy, the easier it will be to identify the opportunities for process automation and delegation and anything that will make it more efficient. The less defined you are, the harder it will be. And if I may take an example from earlier on our call before we hit record, if you have the process written down, it will take you 3 minutes to do. If you don't, it will take you 10 minutes to do.
I feel like you're pointing at me right now.
No, I'm just, we're laughing beside you, not at you. So,
Exactly. Laughing at the guy in the camera, not at me per se. So I would consider the two kings of integration / automations to be Zapier and Make, formerly Integromat. What would you say the differences are between the two?
I hate
which one
Make.
do you hate?
And I can't say what
Make.
the differences are because this is a family-friendly show and I'm a family-friendly person. When Integromat turned to Make, they were full of bugs. I couldn't use it. It was impossible to use. I wanted to move from Integromat to Make because it was clear that they were making that change, and it was just impossible to use Make. And then they improved and they whatever. But I was like a Zapier. I've been with Zapier since when they had two integrated, when they were doing Hootsuite. That was basically, connect to Hootsuite and send your socials to Hootsuite. That's what they had. Zapier recently changed their pricing model, and like a filter is free now, so it won't cost you all those tasks, and you won't be running 10,000 automations when you only need 750. So it's much more pocket friendly, and I find it to be a lot more user friendly. Unfortunately, there are still apps that only integrate with one or the other, so you kind of need both to cover all of your bases.
Interesting. Why is that? Is that because they want to be exclusive, or?
The tools that I have in my mind, for example, I live in Israel, and we have to use certain financial tools to be in line with the Israeli financial tax systems and codes and whatever. And the tools in Israel that have integrations currently only have Make integrations, except for 2 that are in beta for Zapier, but have been in beta for Zapier for like 3 years, so I'm not going down that route. Green Invoice, now known as Morning, and iCount both integrate with Make on their full paid plan, but don't integrate with Zapier.
But could you have Make and Zapier talk to each other? Like you get like a free plan on Make just for your
I don't know if you
account?
can do this on the free plan on Make, but definitely you can have the tools talk to each other. I mean, just send it through a joint mutual tool, whatever. But absolutely. Is it worth it? I found it not worth it. I found it cheaper to hire someone to do those tasks than it is to maintain both, because the person that's doing it is doing other things as well for me.
All right, let's talk social media. This is where, whenever I interview people on this podcast, there's always like most of the questions I ask, like I find a lot of interest in them, but for the most part I'm asking, for the general audience. Sometimes I'll ask a question which like I'm currently like looking into this right now. What are your thoughts on it? This is one of those questions. I should be paying you just for this question. Social media post scheduling. What's your favorite tool?
You're not going to like the answer. I don't like any of the tools. I've tried a lot of them. I'm currently researching a few more. My current tool that I'm looking at that I like more because of the analytics is Metricool. Also, I like that it's not an American tool. Can I say that? I don't know. I like that it's a European tool. I don't know why. It's something about the way that they treat, like that they view customers, not treat them. One has nothing to do with the other, but the way that they view customers. It's currently the one that my heart is going towards, but I haven't closed on one specific tool. Like with any tool, the answer is it depends what you want. Are you looking to post videos? Yes or no? Are you looking to post carousels? Yes or no? Are you looking for analytics? Yes or no? Are you looking for backwards integration back into your database or wherever you're keeping your data? Like, those questions define what tool you need to use. And of course, which social media platforms you want to use, how many you have, what the pricing is. Like, there's so many questions to find the right tool.
Right. So we've been using Loomly for about 1.5 years. And recently I was like, okay, there's got to be a better tool out there. Just experiencing some bugs, here and there, and then something else, which is going to be my next question. What's your experience with Loomly? I don't have an
experience with Loomly. I honestly do not have too much experience with social media scheduling tools. For one, because up until last year, I was only doing LinkedIn. I was doing 0 other social media. So I could schedule within LinkedIn theoretically, which sucks as well, but different discussion. I never had to pay for it because it never suited what my goals were and my targets were. I now upload to YouTube and even to TikTok, which I'm not sure I'm going to continue, but that's like for the past 3 months. We've been uploading YouTube Shorts and TikTok. And that's where the research started to come in to find the better tool for integrating. You could also, in theory, like we do all of our scheduling to YouTube through Airtable and Zapier right now. So we have a publish date directly. We have a publish date, and then when it reaches the day before, a week before, I don't remember what the automation states, when X time before the publish date, it goes into a specific view in Airtable, and then a Zap runs and pushes it to YouTube, and it pulls the title, the description, the hashtags, it pulls everything, and it pushes it into YouTube.
Nice. So it's a direct zap between Airtable and
Airtable is
YouTube.
Where all of my content lives.
There's no middle part.
Like I have a database that has every piece of content I ever create is in there.
Yeah, ever since our last meeting, I've been looking into Airtable a bit. But my next question is this. I don't know. I don't know if this is your area of expertise, but I'm gonna shoot anyway. Scheduling posts, does it affect the engagement on the post?
The answer is really not so much the schedule. I think that affects it less. It's more the engagement before and after. So again, I'm talking about LinkedIn only right now. I have no idea about Facebook. I don't do Facebook. I don't do Instagram. Don't ask me about them. I don't know. The answer is I really, really don't know. A social media manager could answer this a lot better than I could. But my experience, scheduling posts don't have, like, the fact that they're scheduled doesn't affect the reach or the engagement. What does is whether you're active before or after LinkedIn is very, very, very needy. It really, really requires a lot of hand-holding. Come on 10 minutes before, engage a little bit. It'll post automatically, that's fine. But then you're there also after to engage. Now, I know people that have their posts for 6 a.m. Israel time because that's a really good time in the U.S. for their target audience, because, like, whatever, it's their target audience is on at those hours. And they get great engagement, and they only come on an hour after. It works for them. It really depends on the habits that you develop with your target audience. The thing about LinkedIn is consistency. If your target audience knows that you're going to post every day at 8 a.m. their time, they're going to look for you at 8 a.m. their time. If they know that you're posting at 3 p.m. their time, they're going to look for you at 3 p.m. your time. And the bell works about 60% of the time. So get your audience to follow you. The bell on LinkedIn, it works about 60% of the time. If you want to follow someone, ring their bell, and 60% of the time that they're posting, you're going to get notified. You're not going to get 100% because there are other factors, whether you're on, whether you're not on. Like, if I'm off of LinkedIn for 2 days, I'm not going to get everyone that posted that I've rung the bell for the past 2 days. Like, I don't know how it works, but it works not bad. Every so often you have to refresh the bell and remind LinkedIn, hey, I rang the bell for this person.
Nice. So in terms of, let's go back to automation. All right, we just took a LinkedIn turn, which I like. But I have a lot more automation questions. So how does automation affect the employee roles within a company?
That is a great question. So when you put a process together, we said that one of the 3 Ps was people, right? When you're looking to find a tool. This is true about automations as well. You cannot put together a process and automations without getting buy-in from the people who are going to be using it. Now, this is easier when you're a small company, especially if you're just starting out and you're going to grow and people are going to come on board and this automation is in place. But if you're a bigger company and you don't have buy-in, you're going to have a huge problem. And a true story is a company that I was consulting for had an employee that was a little bit older. And they didn't want to go into the project management tool and select that the project was done, that the task was done. Now, hitting a task being done triggered a lot of other actions in the background and automations, notifications, clearing up dependencies. Like there was real meaning behind marking that task as done. There were things that were happening, and that employee refused to go in and do it. So the solution is one of 2 solutions. Either train them and get their buy-in and explain the importance. If you can, you can. If you can't, then go to solution 2. Or decide that this employee is not a fit for you, which is not the best solution. You should usually not fire people over things like this. And the second option is finding a workaround. Not ideal. Uses, I'm looking for a replacement for the M word, human interaction. So basically, you have the employee write an email to their boss saying, this task was complete, and then their boss goes in and checks it. Not ideal, but it's a workaround.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we do. Most of our team, like, it's not that they refuse to use it, it's just that they don't end up using it. And then our project manager just pretty much just updates everything for them. That's actually something we're working on right now.
So there are ways to make it easier for them. So it could be that it's too many clicks in order for them to get to the task at hand, in which case you have to find an easier way for them to access that status change.
Right. Well, once things are running smoothly, it's mostly because we're switching softwares. We were using Trello and everything was running smoothly and great, and now we're moving over to
I
ClickUp.
hate Trello as well, but at least Trello belongs to Atlassian, so we're happy there. Yeah, not ClickUp.
Oh, because you're an Asana fan.
I'm an Asana fan. I'm a Monday fan. I'm a teamwork fan. I'm an anything but ClickUp fan. Although, to be fair, I have clients that use ClickUp and I've set them up on ClickUp. So it's not that I don't know the tool, it's just that I don't like the tool.
But what is it that you hate about ClickUp?
One of the things that I hate is a tool that tries to be everything to everyone all at once, and that is ClickUp. ClickUp tries to be able to do documentation and project management and email and automations and so much more. Like, there's so much that they've pushed into it. Now, the thing is, they build it modularly, so theoretically you can turn things on or off. 90% of clients don't know, not clients, of their clients don't know it because the average user doesn't really understand the capabilities of any given tool. So a tool as complex as this, definitely they don't understand it. Secondly, they're trying to imitate everyone. And when you try to imitate everyone, you don't find your own kind of voice. About their UX, I mean, they've changed this a little bit. When they started, every time you click on a task, it opens up as a pop-up, which is their default. And I hate that because I like seeing a task within the context of the project. Their automations, last time I checked, which is a few months ago, don't give you run history, don't give you like testing of every step. I could go on.
Let's talk about a case study. Can you give me a situation where automation, like where they were beforehand and where they are now through automation?
Right. So I don't know if it's automations. This is an example of they were set up in one tool and the automations there weren't serving them. Happens to be that they were set up in ClickUp. Not planned, but happens to be they were set up in ClickUp. This company had repetitive tasks at different frequencies. So there were daily tasks, there were bi-weekly tasks, monthly tasks, weekly tasks, whatever, like bi-weekly, bi-monthly. So many different frequencies. And what happened, and they had hundreds of companies, like they had hundreds of clients. And what happened was every account manager would get daily tasks, daily tasks, daily tasks, daily tasks, daily tasks for every client. But they didn't know what the tasks were. They had to click in and see what they were. And if they didn't complete the task of today, tomorrow's task automatically got created anyway. So all of a sudden they had these daily tasks a week back because they were on vacation. And now they have to go in and see, wait, did I do this? Did I not do this? Can I close it? Can I not close it? What we did is we moved them to a different tool that automatically calculated the next due date based on the frequency. And once the task was complete, it would create another task. So if you didn't do yesterday's task, you still had it as a task and it wouldn't create tomorrow's task. And then when you completed the task, it would just give it for the next day, which was tomorrow, not like 2 days later, depending on whatever. So it's always interesting to see when you set it up how the frequency that you set it up and the automations that you have in the background should suit the workflow of the employee and not suit whatever the tool can give you.
Right. Start with your current process and the people that are processing through your process and build a tool around it as opposed to look at what the tool does and then says, okay, we're all going to do this now.
That's like the best summary you could give for how to choose like a process and a tool.
Which is why you don't like ClickUp, because you want every tool to be chosen for its best use case. Meaning for content creation, you want the best tool for that. And the best tool doesn't necessarily is not an objective best tool. It's the best tool for you for this operation and the way you currently do it. How to automate that and accelerate that and systemize that.
I don't know, but I use it. So
and then for anything else for client fulfillment, right? What's your current process? Learn that, and then figure out which tool is the most similar to that that's going to help accelerate that process as well.
It could be the tool that you're using now, meaning if you're using ClickUp and you like it, but we need improvements on it, then how can we improve the current tool that you're using? I'm not looking to change what tool you're using. If you like ClickUp, and like I said, I have clients that do, we're going to make the most out of that tool given the limitations of the tool or the environment that we're in. And it's always a trade-off. Some tools are better at X, some tools are better at Y. And so you have to ask the question, am I willing to give up on X or on Y or to bend a little bit on one of those? Or, and this is not my favorite solution, do I use two different tools? Now, too many tools is also not very good. So the idea is to find exactly the right tool in the right structure in the right flow for your business, and that's going to look very different for every different business.
I've actually had a recent discovery where, oh my God, you're gonna tear me to shreds after saying this. I'm excited for this. I've discovered that sometimes sometimes I look for something that's more feature packed because I'm like, oh, this is so cool, we could do this, and then I realize there's actually a free what's the word, native, I think, tool built into my phone that does 99% of, like, an example for me would be Todoist. I got it because it integrates and it does all this and it's great. And then I had it integrate with my calendar, so every single event just pops up as another task. And then so I disconnected that, and eventually I just stopped using it. And I realized that for all the things I'm using on Todoist, Apple Reminders has literally all of that. So I started using that, and it's great. That was one example. Apple Notes is another example. I'm like, why am I not using it? It's built into my phone. It immediately syncs with my computer and every device that I have, pretty much. Because I'm an Apple idiot, that's why, and I'm proud to be.
Can I just say something about Apple, just for the record? I was an Apple fan before people knew. I was an Apple fan before people realized that it could be used for personal use. This is since the 1984 Mac commercial, the Super Bowl ad. I was obsessed with everything Apple. I loved that the cancel was always on the same side and the OK was always on the same side and they were always in the same colors, and I loved the UX and I loved the UI and I loved everything about Apple. And I got wiser about 10 years ago. So Apple puts you in an environment that is closed. I'm not going to get any friends saying this, and to all you Apple lovers, stay with Apple. It's a great tool, but be aware that you're being closed within an environment that is very, very regulated and very much in a mindset of the Apple developers, which is fine because that's what keeps them stable and that's what keeps it looking the same across the board. And that's what keeps it familiar to all of the Apple users, which is great. But when iTunes came out and it didn't integrate with whatever I don't remember, my PC or whatever that I had at the time, it was frustrating to me because all of my music was lost. It was all on iTunes and I couldn't get it anywhere else. And I'm not talking about today where who uses iTunes anymore? But, it's like that was a great example for me of how they were closing the environment and forcing me to use their tools. And in continuation with what I've been saying throughout this entire podcast, I love Apple and their tools might be great, but that doesn't mean that they're right for every use case in every scenario. And so I don't want to use a set of tools that is forcing me to stay within the environment. Having said that, what you said about using Apple Reminders and Apple Notes and all of that, if you're in the Google Workspace, take advantage of Google Notes and Keep and Reminders and Events. The Google Calendar, it works really well. iCal, by the way, doesn't integrate with almost anything. Google Calendar integrates with everything, even HIPAA compliant stuff. So just saying, just to show you the difference, like use an environment that integrates with others, that does not lock you out and force you to use their own tools.
Yeah, so the Google ecosystem is, I believe, the same thing applies, meaning what I was saying about using Apple Notes and how it's integrated, how it's native to the other software and hardware that I have. With Google, it's the same thing. We use Google Workspace, or what's it called, Google Suite. I don't remember what the new one is, but we use it a lot. I think it's Workspace. We use it a lot. We have a whole bunch of Google email accounts. We use Sheets, Slides, Docs. The whole gamut. We don't use Tasks, Google Tasks, but anything that is. This is my opinion. By this, believe this goes directly against your opinion in general, and I'm going to explain. I'm going to explain. I believe anything that works cohesively together because it's from the same people. I'm a big fan of going for that. As an automation specialist, my understanding is that I think it's not just a what's the word, I think it's a personality thing as well, but your style is to push the boundaries on everything, right? Which is why you'll choose Airtable for content, and you'll choose.
So no, yes and no. So first of all, if you have something that's in the tool that you're already using, definitely use it. If you have like I said, I'm a big fan of an environment, but an environment is not an all-in-one tool. So within the Google Workspace Suite environment, you have a tool for calendar and a tool for documents and a tool for sliders and a tool for tasks and a tool for reminders and so many other different tools that are defined as separate tools as well. And if you want to integrate with them, you have to integrate with them separately. What I'm against is using an all-in-one tool, which is different than an environment. An all-in-one tool is basically a tool that says, "Hi, I can do everything." Now let's assume, for the sake of the discussion, that they can do everything. They can't. But let's assume for the sake of the discussion that they can do everything. If you're sick with a cough, you're going to go to a generalist. You're going to go to your family doctor, and your family doctor is going to go, here, take Tylenol, take an Advil, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. But if your ear or throat infection persists again and again, and your tonsils get inflamed again and again, you're going to go to an ear, nose, throat doctor, and the ENT is going to go, "Oh, yeah, Tylenol isn't going to help you. Here, let me give you Augmentin or Moxipin or whatever specific drug that's going to help, whatever specific medication that's going to help that ailment that you have." And they're going to know more about it than a generalist usually. Maybe this example wasn't a great one, but, because most doctors know about tonsillitis, but still, a specialist is going to give you a more specialized treatment. And the same goes for a tool. A tool that can do courses and communities and marketing and emails and a landing page and payment processing and invoices and all of these things all in one is not going to be able to do it as effectively as a specific invoicing tool, as a specific tool for email marketing, as a specific tool that does courses and communities or sales. And you have to, like I said before, it's a give and take. You have to say, what is more important to you? Is the fact that it's $49 a month for all of these enough for me? Or do I want to make the most out of each one of these tools? I had a call with someone last week, and they were like, "Okay, I'm looking into a tool called X. Doesn't matter what it is." It was an email marketing tool that could do courses and could do communities and could do landing pages. And then we went to the feature.
Happens to be there is a tool called
Not anymore.
X.
X.AI. It was a scheduling tool, but it doesn't exist anymore. And there's X that's Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, but yeah.
Oh, no, I'm referring to Twitter.
You said tool, not whatever. Because Twitter isn't really a tool. It's a social media, whatever. I'm not going there. The thing is, we looked at the features page. Their free plan was like 2,000 contacts, which was like, great, because I'm just starting my email list. Let's take that. But then when you look into it, and I'm not talking about MailChimp because everybody knows I hate MailChimp. This is a different tool. But then when you look at it, you say, okay, wait, I only get one email campaign, one workflow, one automation. I'm going to run out of everything within a month of working with the tool. So even if I have 300 contacts, I'm still going to have to upgrade because, I need all the other things. It's really great that they sell themselves as all-in-one and that they have a really seemingly attractive free tier. Look at the quality of what you get. How complex are the automations that you can create versus how complex they are in a specialized tool? Just to close off what you said that I wasn't going to agree with you, if you can have native integrations, they are much better than third-party integrations because then they will break less because they're built into the tool. But that's integrations. It doesn't mean that the tool is doing everything. It means that it natively integrates with other tools that are doing everything.
So I guess what I'm saying is that if someone's not going to be pushing the limits on different things, they're not looking to do big things, and they buy into the, Notion AI or I've never used Notion. I don't know why I'm using it as an example, but Todoist would be my example.
Notion is a great tool.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Let's get into that in a minute. But you're buying into all the amazing marketing of all these different things. Apple doesn't do marketing for notes. And then you realize that all the things you're doing over there, you could just do the same thing for notes without paying the whatever it is a month. For those type of people, which largely is me in many scenarios, for those people should stick with the native apps. But yes, the ideal would be to push the boundaries in all of these tools and set it up properly with a specialist such as yourself, and maximize these tools.
So the only comment I would have for people like you who want to stay in the Apple environment or Notes is if you're looking to stay just within your phone, computer, your devices, that's fine. The minute you're looking to integrate it with other things, so that if you complete a note or mark a note as done or whatever it is, I don't know what the Apple terminology is, you want that to trigger other things. If you want it to trigger other things outside of the Apple environment, you're going to have a problem because Apple doesn't play nice with others. Yeah.
No bueno.
And that's the difference between short-term, small thinking, no offense, to we're going to grow and we need to think what's going to happen when I go beyond the just one-man show or three-man show and I can handle it on my phone. What happens when I hire a VA and I want to handle all this over to the VA? I'm going to have to learn a new tool now. Whereas if you were doing it on Todoist, which is a nice, simple, fun tool that I know people use and use it well, even that is better than Notes because it's in the cloud. It's not on your phone. It's not on one of your devices. And it's not, you don't have to give someone your login because you can give them access through different users. So again, just thinking ahead in that terminology for scalability, something small like the Apple environment is very, very closed off.
Right. I guess if you're using it for work purposes, then definitely you should be busting out of it immediately. Let's talk about Notion. What's Notion and why is
Notion
it awesome?
is data management on speed, very much like Airtable, but very different. I have found that it works really well for people who have nonlinear thinking / ADD, ADHD thinking, because you can sort of build it however you want. You don't know anyone like that? No, I don't know anyone like that. I'm not self-diagnosed in any way. You can build a page doing basically anything. You have database features, you have project management features. It's not a project management tool per se. You can build it into a project management tool, very similar like you can do with Airtable. I found it bare, and I found it too much like unstructured, so that I had to build everything from scratch, and I didn't like that for my own personal use. But I have clients who love it, who swear by it. And it's a great tool. It's very, very powerful, underestimated, integrates really well with a lot of other tools. If you want to create a web layer on top of it, it's called Super.io, I think, and it really integrates nicely. So there's a lot that you can do with it. That gives you payment processing and other things.
Web layer?
So let's say you have, the way that Notion works is that you have pages. Lots and lots of pages. So let's say you have a page that has a database of a portfolio of your work, right? Let's say you're a web designer and you have either links or just thumbnails of all of these websites that you've created. Now, you don't want to give everybody access to that page, although you could, which is one way of doing it, but you don't want it to be open. So you want it behind, let's say, a layer that requires people to either log in or just they go to a website and they can see it on a website. So instead of creating a website from scratch, you use Super.io that gives you a template, and it integrates, like it pulls the data directly from the Notion webpage, and then it presents it as a webpage.
That's cool.
There's so much that you can do with Notion. It is a very powerful tool, but like I said before, my experience, that doesn't mean that this is true, but my experience is that people who have nonlinear thinking use it better, enjoy it more than people with very, very linear thinking. Except for my web developer, he uses it. He has very linear thinking, and he's phenomenal. So I don't know. What do I know?
Could you explain the difference between linear thinking and non-linear
linear thinking is A leads to B, B leads to C, C leads to D. That's linear. It's one after the other. It's a line. Whereas nonlinear thinking is A leads to B. Hey, bird. C leads to F. Hey, look at that shiny object. That's nonlinear thinking. It's, oh, this is going to take me to here or to there. It's like associative thinking is not necessarily, that's one type, but it's like, that's a type of nonlinear thinking.
So what Notion does is it kind of organizes it for you. You just like, you do like a brain dump and it just figures things out for you.
That would be cool if it did it on its own, and possibly with AI in the future, yes. But now you have to sort of brain dump it in a certain way, and then you can manipulate it to present it in different ways.
Nice. So I don't want to focus too much on Notion. So I'll jump to the next question. What industries, or are there any industries that benefit the most from workflow solutions?
Every industry can benefit from workflow solutions and automations, because workflow solutions and automations are not standalone. They're part of a process. And every industry has a process. Even if you think you don't have a process in your own industry, you do. Everybody has a process, whether they know it or not. And the secret is to identify the process, or to define the process. Say, this is step A, this is step B, this is step C. Yes, this requires linear thinking, because you have to know what leads to what. And there could be steps that are happening at the same time, but there's still a step A, step B, step C. Once you identify the different steps, then you can identify the opportunities for automations, for delegation. It also makes delegation easier because you've outlined the process. Now, what happens oftentimes is one person within the company is doing a process, and they know how to do it down pat. They know all the steps. They can do it with their eyes closed. But then they go on leave. They're getting married. They're going on vacation. I don't know, whatever reason. And they're away for a week. And all of a sudden, nobody else knows how to do it, because John did it, and John always knew how to do it, and John was the only one that knew how to do it. So getting the process out of John's head has two benefits. Number one, anybody will learn how to do it, or theoretically, anyone can learn how to do it because it's written out or recorded. And B, we can identify the opportunity for repetitive tasks, for automations, for improvement.
I think I remember the first time we spoke, that was probably the first thing you said. Step one, you need to take your process and get it out of your head and onto a paper or onto Notion, and then start working from there. Can you talk about that a minute?
Oftentimes what will happen is a lot of our brain space is taken by the menial tasks that we do. So if I take service providers, this is at any size. So even if I'm talking about a solopreneur, this is true for larger businesses, just one person in the business. Let's say your sales pipeline. So you know that you have a meeting with someone on Monday, and you want to send a follow-up on the Wednesday, and you want to send a follow-up on the Friday. So you have to make a note for yourself and a reminder for yourself, oh, I have to follow up with lead A on this date and on that date. And then I want to see, wait, did they answer? Did they not answer? Now, this is taking up a lot of your brain space. And this is brain space that you could use to do other things, to improve your business, to improve your unit, whatever it is. And so getting that out into an automation, even just setting up auto reminders for yourself. So your brain is now free to focus on other things rather than thinking, because it's not one lead, right? You're talking to 10 leads a week or 5 leads a week. That's 20 follow-ups. So just like that.
What would you say is, I mean, let's predict the future, right? Because with AI, really taking over. And have you seen the new, someone watching this in 5 years is going to be like, what, the new? What do you mean the new? But have you seen the new ChatGPT, the 4.0, where you can just have a conversation with it?
I've been having conversations with AI for months now. I use AI to code. So I was stuck with this one small piece of code to integrate with Shopify and mark an order as fulfilled. And the Shopify API documentation is huge. And I figured out the model that I had to use, but I couldn't get the code. And I was having a conversation with Perplexity saying, this is what I'm trying to do. And they gave me the code, and I tried it. No, this is the error that I'm getting. Oh, I'm sorry.
A voice conversation?
It was typed. I mean, I'm guessing they have voice, but I was like, this is like, I'm not having.
Now, I'm referring to a phone call, like a coach on demand. You just hit a button and then you just start chatting, and they know about you. But they're even taking it a step further. There's video chats now. I don't think it's publicly available yet because I couldn't find it unless I did something wrong. But by the time this podcast is released, it'll probably be publicly available. And you'll literally, they released a promo about it, and they're like, where does it look like I am right now? And like GPT was like, it looks like you're in some kind of a recording studio. It looks like you're about to record right now some videos. And like another video, it's like he's like wearing some funky hat, and he's like, how do I look? He's like, oh, that's a bit of a statement, you know. So it's got personality. It really understands. So my question to you is, where do you see automation taking its steps, just with the the speed in which AI is moving us, propelling us through, where do you see automation falling in all of this?
Zapier has already integrated AI into their workflow. I don't really use it because I know what I want, but you basically say in your own terms, this is what I want to do, and it will put together the steps that will do it. The problem with AI in general at the moment, and I'm talking about tools like ChatGPT, I'm not talking about the ag tech AI and biotech AI. That's something completely different. The AI that we as service providers and small business owners use is that AI is only as smart as the people who programmed it. It's based on machine learning, and it's not really developing its own thinking process, which we should thank God for, which is a different discussion. But if you don't know what you need and what's not working, I don't know that the AI can help you without you really focusing on what it is that you need in the automation space. So if we take the example from before of Calendly, and we only want invitations to the podcast meeting to trigger, if you don't specify in the prompt, I would like to take all meetings from Calendly that are specific to podcasts and do XYZ after that, it's not going to add that filter step in. And if you do know to add it, then you would have known to add the filter step on your own anyway. So, again, like with any AI, it's learning how to prompt properly. And learning how to prompt properly means you have to know the field in which you're prompting.
Do you use ChatGPT in general in any of your processes, workflow, even content creation?
For content creation and ideation, I do not. Sometimes when I'm giving a masterclass, I will use it to help me with the outline, like to flesh out an outline, but that doesn't, you don't want to use that because you want your own input. It's like, if I'm using ChatGPT, I'm using stuff that's freely available on the internet, and that's not adding any of me. I am a big believer that AI can help a lot. All of the images, except for the people that are real life people, like that were clients, all the people on my website are AI generated. But I didn't create them. My designer created them, right? So this is someone who knew what I was looking for, who knew to define the prompts, who knows how to use Midjourney or Adobe, whatever it is that they've developed. Like it's the Photoshop AI or whatever. Like AI, I heard a really interesting podcast, and I don't remember the name of Tim something. I don't remember his last name. The way AI is going is we will be defined or split into 3 groups: trainers, maintainers, and explainers. And trainers are the people that will train the AI model and define how to do the task. And then maintainers are the people that will maintain that model with updates and tweaks and things as it goes along. And explainers are the people that build the strategy behind it and will take it one step further and say, okay, how can we push this to the limits, to use your terms? And so AI will not be replacing us because, again, the way that AI is structured now is it's machine learning. It's not really artificial intelligence yet. But what we can do is we're the ones that need to define how to use it. And so the better we get at creating prompts, at maintaining prompts, at expanding the prompts, that's where the true future lies. And you can see people are now selling. Some people give their prompts away for free. Some people are selling their prompts. Now, if you're using prompts that somebody else sold, that's great. Then you're just like, you're a maintainer. You're just going to use whatever it is that they've already been using and use it again and again and again, or training whatever AI tool that you're using with their prompts. But if you want to be in the leading of that industry, in the head of that industry, then you have to be those that develop those prompts, that learns how to talk to the AI in a way that will get you the results that you want quicker.
So, but you feel that people should be adapting to AI and not, pushing it aside and saying, "Oh, it's AI is terrible."
I can't answer that for 2 reasons. Number one, as an Orthodox woman, I have a halachic, which is like a Jewish law responsibility, and I don't know what the implications of using AI on certain fields have to that aspect, because like deep fake and stuff like that is very, very dangerous, and I don't want to step on that. So I would confer with my rabbi and ask, is this allowed? Is this not allowed in certain situations? That's just personal, where I come from my world. But the second thing is, I personally am not a fan of AI. Where it is today, it's quicker for me to do it myself than to try and train an AI model and to find the prompt. Doesn't mean I'm not going to be adapting to it down the road. It just means that's where I am today. I have no problem with people who do not want to use AI right now. If I want AI images, I will go to an expert and pay them and say, do this for me. I'm not going to learn how to do it myself. If I want to use AI for content, I'm going to go to a writer who uses AI for their content development and has a process for it. And I'd rather pay them, because it's not just about the prompt. It's knowing what to do with the results and taking them to the next level. I don't have the patience for that.
If you were to hire someone, and you have two candidates, one who uses AI to accelerate their work and one who doesn't, would you prefer to hire someone who uses AI as part of their process, or someone that is everything's just organic? It depends.
If they're using it to accelerate, but they're doing research to make sure that the data that they're getting from AI is correct, because often it's not, then definitely that has a value. But that's not even one of the questions that I ask. For me, the deciding factor when I hire someone is I'll look at the results and I'll look at their process, and the efficiency of the process versus the results that I get. That's what I'm going to be checking it for. If somebody's a great writer without AI, I'm not going to penalize them for not adapting the new tech. I don't care.
Well, to me, the differences are very clear. The person who uses AI is going to produce things much faster, but possibly at the expense of a little bit of quality here and there. Sometimes it might feel a little plasticky, but for the most part, they're going to add their human touch to it. Whereas the person who is not using AI, you're always getting more authentic content, but they're producing much slower. So there's the pros and cons of each. That's the way I see it.
So the question is, what is more important to me? If your goal is to create as much content as you can, absolutely use AI. And I know people who have a great process that AI is part of, that they transcribe their short, they record, they push the long form to Opus Clips or whatever, Vid AI or whatever, to create shorts. They push that through transcription, they push that to AI to rewrite it. Like, there's a process that can be done there. But the quality of their posts, in my mind, is less human and leads to less connectability. And for me, with my brand, I prefer the connectability to the quantity of content.
I guess my opinion would be that, not that anyone asked, but that it's a healthy balance between the two, where you're using so we use AI a lot for ideation. We use it for to help with writing things, like to come up with like alternatives. That's one of the things I use ChatGPT for all the time. I put in a sentence, they give me 10 alternatives, or I'll literally ask, what do you think about this sentence? When you ask for 30 variations of something, they'll all pretty much be the same, but with different synonyms used, which sometimes can be helpful. But if you ask for 10, then usually you'll get more quality ones. Everything just depends on this use case, the specific case by case. But
I recently launched a podcast
findings
with someone in my field, and when we were looking for a name, because we knew what the idea was, but we were looking for a name, he couldn't find a good name. So we were on this call, and he shared the screen, and we turned to ChatGPT and said, "This is our target audience. This is what we're going to be talking about. These are possible episodes. Give us some names." And then of the first batch, we liked 2. Of the second batch, we liked 2. Of the third batch, we liked 1 or 2 as well. But then we were like, okay, take from this one, take like from batch 1, take these 2, from batch 2, take these 2, and then put it together. And it came up with a name that we ultimately, like at the end of the day, we took a little bit from here and a little bit from there, and we came up with the name on our own. But it wasn't really on our own. Like you said, it was for ideation. So you're going to get good ideas because you're brainstorming with someone who has access to all of the knowledge on the internet.
That is exactly how we got the name for this podcast, Solo to CEO. It was a result of about a 2-hour conversation with ChatGPT. and just I keep asking for variations. Okay, give me the variations that start with solo. Give me and then okay, I like these two. Give me different variations of this one, and then ultimately we finally got to this name.
So for us, it was Blueprints and Breakthroughs, which is a really catchy name.
Yeah, I find it's also really helpful for coming up with potential issues that you might encounter for any specific, right? I want to launch this kind of business. What are some issues I might, or does this sentence look like it might offend some people?
You have to be so careful with that, though, because, like I said, AI is machine learning. So if 15 people or 1,500 people input, people with glasses suck. Now, I have glasses, just, if people listen to audio. It's not that I'm against people with glasses, but if you have, if 1,500 people say people with glasses suck, you're training the model to say people with glasses suck. Now, the trainers in the background, like the maintainers in the background, those that work at ChatGPT, at OpenAI or whatever, when they get something like that and it's reported, then they'll take it down and they'll say, no, people with glasses don't suck. But until that point, there is a bias in the AI to the people that use it and the people that developed it. So at the moment, ChatGPT is very Western culture orientation thinking. So if someone from the East asks questions, it's going to get Western culture responses. So if you ask, will this offend anyone? It's going to give you a Western view of what does it mean to offend and what groups it could offend. Whereas in the East, offense is treated very, very differently. The culture is very different. So we have to recognize that AI is very culture biased, and it really does not give us the best solution in every situation.
Right. Well, if you're doing that idea that I mentioned 2 minutes ago, of course you have to plug in your own brains. It's really just to give you ideas of what might be hidden in those words. That usually when I do that, I usually don't ask, will this offend someone? I would normally ask, like, does this mean what I think it means, or will people think it means something else? Not necessarily offensive, but will people, like if I write something that has to do with videos, something like a web promo was an example, actually, where we launched our web promo, which is a video ad, a promo video that's filmed on the web. So I asked ChatGPT, could it be thought to mean anything else? I probably could have worded that sentence a little better, but can it be misunderstood? And then it told me all the different things that it could be misunderstood, as maybe it's a promotion for web design or whatever it is. So what I understood from that was I read through all the things, and most of them didn't really apply to me, if I remember correctly. And what did apply, I didn't even change the name. I use it in context in a way that people will understand that it's a video. So, of course, everything when it comes to AI, for sure, you have to plug in your own. So my last question, my second to last question to you is, what kind of tools or resources, I should say, would you recommend for someone that wants to learn more about automation?
Both Make and Zapier and Airtable and so many tools have communities. So look at the tools that you're using in your tech stack right now, and check out their communities and their forums, because you can learn a lot about a tool, what its limitations are, what its capabilities are. Asana has a forum, has a community. I think Smart Suite has a community as well. Check out the communities and read about the tools and their capabilities, their native integrations and their third-party integrations, and look at the ones also, if you have reviews, look at the 1 and 2 stars, not just the 5 stars. Even if it has 1,000,000 5 stars and 2 1 stars or 2 stars, look at those, because it'll give you an idea of possible hiccups that you're going to come across, and just raises a red flag, because it could be maybe not relevant to you, but it could be very relevant to your use case.
Where are these communities and forums hosted?
If you rate Zapier community, you'll find it. If you rate Asana community, you'll find it. And they have blog posts as well. Blogs are hosted by them, so you kind of have to be weary, because they're always going to show their best side.
Yeah, there's moderation, heavy moderation. Yep. So my last question to you, this is the grand finale, If someone wanted to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to
So
go
first
ahead
of
and
all,
do
I
that?
don't bite, even though you said, I would chop your head off or whatever. Like I don't bite, so you can reach out through LinkedIn directly and my website. So on LinkedIn, I'm Irit Levi, and my website is day-by-day.biz.
Awesome. Day dash by dash
It's
dash
hard to
day.
say.
Say
It's
that
hard to
again.
say. It's a
It's a
mouthful,
bit
but
of a
that was a
mouthful.
decision that I made.
Day dash by dash
Day by day
biz
with dashes in the middle.
day.
Dot biz.
It's
Yeah, no,
say that
no,
3 times
don't try
fast.
it.
Day by day separated by dashes dot biz. That's good. All right. I love it. Anyway, thank you very much for coming on. There was a lot of valuable information that I learned personally and that I believe the listeners will really, really appreciate. Thank you very, very much, Irit Levi.